Chris or Alvin, do you want to explain? And this is a public hearing on the bond issuance. You want to explain that a little bit?
The reason we're continuing it is because the notice mistakenly said 8 o'clock this morning. It was supposed to say 6 o'clock this evening. So we figured that out. It was too late to publish it again, so we had to open the meeting, reset it for this afternoon, and then close it. So that's why we're having the meeting now. So Alvin, if you want to kind of tell them what this is all about.
Okay, this is for the Perry County Port Authority. It is replacing the bridges over the Anderson River and one near Christney. And that's there's a USDA, this is USDA bond for a loan that is to 20% match to the 80% provided by an EDA grant. And so this is a 40-year loan. Monthly payments are about $1,200 a month, which is equivalent to about 3 rail cars that are running and they're delivered each month. So that's about 10% of the monthly run. And the annual maintenance on that bridge is increasing as time goes on, but it's been about $15,000 to $20,000 a year for the last several years, and last year it was $50,000. So it's the steel structure that crosses the river was built in 1927, and so and there's one of the piers is right in the middle of the Anderson River, which creates a lot of issues with driftwood and washing around the other 2 piers, and the new bridge will span the entire river, so that eliminates that issue then. And the design of the Anderson River Bridge is such that it'll be built on false work next to the bridge, the existing bridge, and the substructure will be built through the existing bridge, and so there'll be about a week to 2 week closure of the bridge in order to jack it over onto the new superstructure or substructure. That's a lot better than if we don't do this in a controlled situation. We could end up in something had happened to it, or it closed the river, collapse into the river. That'd be a 3-year closure of the railroads. Time we got through the permits and found the money and et cetera. 3 years might be on a lucky side finding the money again, but right now, so which means we couldn't cross the river going out or coming in, and most of the traffic comes in servicing the factories in Perry County, and then all the cars have to go back out then. So there's some cars that do go out loaded. So that's the intent of it, and so we think that Port Authority is well positioned to make the payments over the years. So, but this bond process is required by USDA it's a 2% loan for 40 years. So,
And then it could also allow passenger.
yes, we're not allowing the excursion trains to cross the river because we're not going to take that risk with passengers in the trains. Then it will be, they will be allowed to cross the river then. And the other thing is 286,000 pound is the standard now for rail cars. That's limited to 263,000 pounds, and so that's the other thing is that we're not hauling as much as what we could be, which makes it more expensive for the customers in this situation. And the rail industry is talking about going to 325,000 pounds, which the bridge is being designed to do 325, and all the rest of them can do 325,000 pounds too.
Good shape for now.
For the future, yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Do you need to read the entire ordinance?
No, we don't have to. It's a 45-page ordinance, which I did not draft. It was drafted by the bond attorneys. It contains the entire bond in it. That's why it's so long. It's as Alvin said, it's payable over 40 years. Well, this one is not. This one's payable is like 6% interest on a short-term bond, right?
You're right, and then it rolls into the two.
Once we get the EPA grant and get all the construction finished and all, then this is called a bond anticipation note. It's a bond you issue in anticipation of the final debt. It's kind of like a construction loan, is what
Right.
it's similar to.
That's, yeah.
So this will be the construction loan, and then once we get the process completed, we'll issue the final bond, which will be at the 2%, 40 years, $1,200 a
Yeah,
month.
USDA will not give you bits and pieces of money to do a project like EDA
Right.
does. You have to do the project, and then they pay you the whole amount then, so.
So that's what this is.
Well, with being a public hearing, any comments, questions from the public? That's what this is for.
Yep.
No, yes, ma'am?
Who's the loan through? Who will the,
The loan is actually issued by the county, through the county commissioners, and payable by the Port Authority through their revenue stream.
But the county's not paying the payment to Port Authority.
That's correct.
so we're just loaning them the money?
We're the issuing agency. The bond is paid by them directly to whoever issues the bonds, not the county, whichever
We don't know
bank
what
pays
bank
for the
is.
bonds. No, we'll bid that out. Yeah.
Is the county on the hook for that?
Hmm?
Is the county on the hook for that?
Should the Port Authority not pay this, the county would be on the hook for that.
Yes.
But as Alvin explained, it's 10% of the, 10% or less of the revenue coming in.
Right.
And that revenue should theoretically raise with the increase in the.
Normal, it's 5% plus or minus a year increase from Norfolk Southern pays the Port Authority to do that service. Now, the cars that run from the port to Apaka, that's strictly Port Authority's fund. But yeah, that number will keep going up, the bond stays.
So 80% of the project is being paid by
The grant.
the grant.
Yes.
This is just our share.
So I just want to clarify, we know the interest rate, but we don't know the bank?
The interest rate is a maximum 6% interest rate, and it will be bid out, so it'll be a less than 6% interest rate, hopefully.
The ending, though, is a 2% or less.
That's correct. Yes,
That's the
we
key
do
right
know that. The USDA grant is a 2% loan, that's what it is.
So the, I guess.
The construction loan is being bid out. The final loan, the takeout loan, which takes out the construction loan, is a known amount.
And that's
That
USDA.
is a USDA,
So basically USDA is the bank on
That's
the
right.
40-year.
that is correct.
But the other one will bid it out, what it should be,
That is correct.
Right.
because it needs to be bidded.
Yes,
This loan will be about 18 months long.
the 6%.
18 months.
Yeah, about 18 months long.
Right. And if we pass this bond issue, the interest rate is not to exceed,
That is right. It is a not to exceed.
yes,
So you're wanting to prove something, you don't even know how much or anything, is that what?
not to exceed.
Yes.
I don't understand that.
It could be less, but it won't be more than what it is. So when I look at it and I have to approve it, I have to think about it in the worst-case scenario, which is that max 6% for that 18% and that max 2%.
For the 18 months.
For 18 months. So I said 18. I said that backwards. Max 6% for 18 months. I got to think about it in those terms. Even if I think, well, we'll probably get 4, I got to think about it in the 6 because that is the max that I could have there. So I need to make sure that the benefit's worth that. It is a little bit confusing in that sense, but what it means is that it can't be above that 6% threshold. For what it amounts to.
But this is the first step to that process, is
Yeah.
passing it not to exceed.
Yes.
And even if we go through the process and we get the bids back or we don't necessarily have to move forward at that point, right?
We don't have to.
Yeah. So I mean, if it comes back and it's
Well, if it comes back more than 6, we can't go
yeah,
forward.
but I mean, that's what I'm saying. If it's craziness, it's dead. You know, it's
Right.
done.
Right.
Yes.
Any other comments, questions?
I have one question, it may be silly, but.
No?
Mm.
We need
to have it at the speak. We need to have it at the microphone, guys. We can't hear it.
Can you come to the speaker, that way everybody,
Is that in Perry
Okay.
and end in Perry?
Does the bridge start in Perry and end in Perry?
No,
actually,
that's a
it's-
county line exam server at that point.
But it belongs to the Port Authority, or Perry County Port Authority.
The bridge does now.
Yes,
Starts
the
on-
rail does, which
The rail,
includes the bridge.
Even the rail in Spencer County belongs to Perry County Port
Port
Authority.
Authority.
Correct.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I know where you may have been heading, that maybe Spencer County should pay.
Yeah, I was
Right,
thinking, I was thinking,
right,
yeah.
Right. But no, it's a good clarification. Anybody else?
Was there anyone that showed up at the 8 o'clock meeting? I'm sorry, I had to work.
No.
I was not, no.
Mm-mm. No, and like I said, it was the only way we could do that. It was publicized at 8 AM, so we started at 8 AM, no one's here. So we just continued it till 6 PM.
Right.
Most people understood it should be, so. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve, as it's written for the 18 months, 6%, 40 for 2.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made, second, and vote by roll call. Greg?
Aye.
Randy?
Aye.
Also vote aye. Motion made, second, carried, 3-0. Thanks, Alan. Okay, we will close, do we need a motion to close the public hearing?
Yes. So motion.
Second.
Motion made, second. Roll call, Greg?
Aye.
Randy?
Aye.
Motion made, second, carried, 3-0 to close the public hearing. Now we'll begin the commissioners' meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Christine, on the agenda, paying government.
First off is payroll. We have three different, you have the regular payroll and two small payrolls. The first one is the one that went to all county employees, issued out today, August the 2nd, for $148,120.03. There was a comp time for the health department at $2,158.28. And then there was an election that had to be paid out just to the election board members. Even in non-election years, they have to be paid out each election. And that was $3,000.
Any discussion?
No.
No.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and second. Vote by roll call, Randy?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Motion made, second, carried, 3-0.
Okay, next are the claims, also dated today, county, for total with county general, highway, and any advances, $412,102.05.
Greg or Randy, have any discussion?
No.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion made and second. By roll call, Randy?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Motion made, second, carried, 3-0.
Okay, I do have one thing to add in. The highway asked me to bring this one in. It is an additional appropriation that they need to appropriate out of their community crossings. This was the share, our share that we got, that, or the states, that we got our money in, and now they need to appropriate it to get the road work done on the projects that have been submitted. And it's $874,126.95 for community crossings.
Any questions or discussion on that? I mean, the bids came in less, $147,000 less than what the estimates were, so, but
It's always a good thing, so.
it is.
Okay.
I'll
And they
make a
said if we
motion.
would have waited to September, Maryland, and they were afraid it was going to be too late, so that's why we're trying to get this through to approve, so we can get it advertised and get it to the council in August.
So we can get, so we can get work done.
Otherwise, it wouldn't wait till late September.
Mhm.
I'll make a motion.
Okay,
Second.
motion made and second. Vote by roll call, Randy?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion made, second, carried, 3-0.
That is all I have.
And that was his budget item on the agenda?
Nope. This is
That's
his,
probably his.
This is his regular budget.
Oh, okay.
that's next, that's for you on the highway budgets.
Okay. I guess he might have provided, Steve Howe's not here this evening because he is COVID positive. That's the reason why he's not able to attend the closed Maryland. So he asked me to present his budget. Randy and Greg, you've been emailed that budget. Have you had a chance to review it?
Yeah, I just got it today. I lost it somewhere. I don't know, but because when I went through the other budget, I think when I actually went through it the second time, I think I actually had it once before, but I ran through it again today.
Okay.
But the question I had was only one, and it's bridge inspections. I saw that in 2020 and 2021, we had dollar values in there. Is it because it's on a cycle that we do that?
Yes.
Yes, it
It
is on a
is.
cycle.
Okay, so basically next year is just out of cycle, that's why it's 0.
Is it 2 years or 3 years?
I think it's 2.
2.
Pretty sure it's 2.
I'm thinking so
Okay,
too.
okay.
Yeah.
You were thinking it was 3?
No, she said 2.
2, okay.
2, yeah.
All right, that was the only thing, I just saw it, that was like 0, I was like, okay, I wanted to make sure that was right.
Right, they were 2 years, we did bridge
All right.
inspection. Anything else concerning you?
Nope.
And like I said, I read through it, and actually went through it with Steve out there, and I didn't,
You might want to read the total amounts, Tom, as far as,
oh, okay. Yeah. The motor vehicle restricted is 546,910.
I got a staple.
Yeah, it is.
actually,
Mhm.
if you go to where these
That's
are,
what I was doing.
here's your restricted.
Oh,
The total.
plus 300, so the restricted total is $1,012,099. And that is, it has to be spent, it all comes from motor vehicle highway fund, and that is restricted to certain aspects of maintenance of the roads. Now, and there's certain things that they can't pay out of that, and the motor vehicle highway administration budget is $663,836. The King Bridge fund, which is just bridges, is $326,700. Right.
This whole budget here is,
Oh, 1,052,009.
that's for the whole highway fund.
Yeah. And the surplus, surtax and wheel tax is $350,000. The local road and street maintenance and repairs is $330,000. So that is the amounts. And like I said, all this, everything that is in here, none of this comes out of county general, it all comes out of motor vehicle highway and King Bridge, and specifically for highway use. So, question?
No. So I looked over it when it came first, I glanced over it today again. I'll make a motion to approve the 2022 highway budget.
Okay, motion made, second. We'll go by roll call.
Aye. Oh, sorry. Aye.
Aye.
Motion made, second, carried, 3-0. All right. You're up, Chris, with the quick feed. If some of you guys remember, Greg, you weren't on the commissioners then, I don't believe. Back in October of last year, September, October, we advertised the old county annex, which used to be in Counton, well, it used to be across the street from the courthouse. Advertised that for sale. after some hearings and all, we ended up having a bid from Mark Ramsey, which was accepted, and we did a deed. And we knew when we did the deed, the property descriptions were a little hinky, if that's a word. So Mark went ahead and had everything surveyed there to make sure where the property lines were and get a good, valid legal description. He's now finally got the survey finished and has asked us, he showed a survey, he brought the survey in, it's been shown to the auditor's office, and he asked us to do a quitclaim deed of the new survey description. It's the exact same property we thought we were deeding, but it's got the good property lines, a good description and all. So that's what this is. It's just to clean up the old property descriptions that we had from the prior deed, which was a really old deed. And we knew had some issues. Some of the deed descriptions in the outlots and all in County aren't necessarily good a lot of times. So now it's cleaned up. That's what this is. No additional property,
Just a good deed.
just a good deed.
Okay. Any discussion, any question?
Yeah.
Anything on motion?
So moved, I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, motion made and second. Roll call, Randy?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
Motion made, secretary, 3-0.
Oh, you got it marked? It's yours, it's marked.
Okay.
And that's all I had for that.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda is opening the bids for the cycle reassessment.
You need scissors or anything?
No, I think I got a pull tab here. So we advertised, we, being the county assessor, advertised for bids for the cyclical assessment they have to do every what? How often do you have to bid this out?
Physical reassessments every 4 years.
4 years, okay. Well, apparently I do need this. Because it's locked. Hold on a second. We received one bid from Tyler Technologies, which I believe has the current contract, correct? Or has the current contract? One for everybody. You want it?
No.
Oh, come on. Let's see if there's an easy way. We'll check this to make sure they comply with all the bidding requirements. I'm just going to see if I can get a quick number here. Oh, here it is. So the bid for the job is $343,864. And that's the only bid we've received.
That's total for all years?
That's total for all years.
So, do we require more than one bid?
We don't, I mean, no, we did public, we published in the paper like we're required to by law and only received one bid. Do you remember how many we received last time we did this?
How many bids we saw last time?
Just the one? Yeah. So a lot of companies that do this.
So, I mean, there's a handful of companies, but when we put out those requests for bids, it's very, very state guideline specific.
Yeah.
They have to have, I mean, it's, we had to put out the bids, publicize it, and then if you were gonna bid on it, they had to call and request those specifications and had to bid according to those specifications. So there's like 2 companies that I know of in the state of Indiana.
It's a very specialized.
Very.
How does that compare to last time on the bid?
Last time, Pam, I think it's 3% more than the
Okay,
last
so it wasn't
4
much,
years.
yeah.
Do we need to take this under advisement to check anything or
You have to take it under advisement
to check the?
pending that all the specifications
Yeah.
are in there.
Yeah.
And we can vote on next meeting
Mhm.
if everything checks out.
I'm sorry, Greg, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's all right. So when you advertise, you said you advertised in the paper, but did you actually, I mean, you know of 2 that do it, did you actually contact them with that?
We advertise in the paper that notice to bidders, if you want to bid, here's the date of the deadline, the time of the deadline, and that.
But I mean, would the other competition even know that we put that in the paper? I mean, how do they know? If there's only two, I mean, they probably don't get our local paper is what I'm saying.
Most companies, if they'll call the county and ask when the bids are going out.
Okay.
So
The other company, did they contact us at all, or anyway?
I only have one person contact requesting bid information.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we should take it under.
No, it's a good question, but I wouldn't know where to advertise it anymore, you know.
We, by state statute, I'm required to publish it in a local newspaper for 10 days, and then I post it out here.
Mhm.
But that's all we can do. I mean, I guess I could post it in Evansville, but it's not gonna be different if they're not familiar. But most companies are familiar with bid cycle, familiar with the local news,
Right.
where they need to look, and most of them just call the county assessor's office and ask when they're gonna put bids out.
If they're interested in that.
If they're interested
specific
in
work.
bidding.
Mhm.
I mean, it's open now, it's a little too late. I mean, maybe next year, is it not legal for us to contact the other person just to make sure that they wanted to? I mean, I'm not saying you didn't do anything wrong, I'm just saying that you did everything that you had to do, but I was just saying, like, maybe next year, is there any way that are we allowed to actually call that competitor and
It would be
see?
in 4 years, in 4 years.
Okay, so,
In 4 years,
yeah, I won't be here. But if in 4 years, you know, I was just saying, you know, because it's open now, you can't do anything about it now, but I was just wondering if down the road, is it legal to actually call them and actually ask them if there's a competitor out there that?
I don't know if it's legal or not. That's
Okay.
a good question.
In general, can you call and solicit bids?
Probably.
Okay.
Don't know why you couldn't.
Right.
Mhm.
But now that it's open and they know the number, it would be.
Well, and the other bidder, in full disclosure, is involved in some pretty serious litigation in court over some of its processes, and we were a little bit nervous about getting a bid from them in the first place. So it might be a good opportunity for that to kind of fall out, see how that falls out, and see if they're still around in 4 years to even be bidding.
Yeah.
And if they are, and there's only two, then sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, I wasn't saying you did anything wrong, I was just trying to figure out how do you get more bids, because if you get more bids, you may get a better price, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
There's no motion.
we need a motion to table it until it's,
Yeah.
Yeah, have Chris review it and make sure
Yeah, we
everything's
need to-
there. I'll make that motion.
okay,
Second.
okay, motion made, second, Randy?
Aye.
Great.
Aye.
Yeah, motion made to table it until it's checked. By legal and by Mindy to make sure that it's what you,
Yeah, I can, if Chris, you want to give me a copy of it, I'll take it, compare
Happy
it
to.
to the bids.
Good, I know, good.
And I'll compare the bid specs with it tomorrow, and then email you
Okay.
any discrepancies of it.
yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, dispatch services. Steve, you want me to say something, or you want to first?
I've had a few people question what type of 911 service we got and what actually happens when you call 911. We have an enhanced 911 service. It's pretty complex as far as the start of the call to how it comes to dispatch, how it gets to the first responders at the end. Something I was going to ask, would that be beneficial to do a little brief PowerPoint at a future meeting that kind of explains the whole flow of that call, where it goes to, how it comes to our center? If it is, I would be glad to do a little brief.
I'd like to see it.
I mean, if you and Roger could work on it together, I think that would be a good thing to
Sure.
do. Yeah.
Sure.
I would like to see it also because in the last couple months, I've learned more about dispatch than I've ever thought I'd know about dispatch.
Sure.
So, and there's a lot of things I didn't know. I'll admit that right
It's a
now.
complex system and it's interesting, so we can make it pretty brief.
Okay.
I was asked by the commissioners and a couple of councilmen to get some figures together, if the county retained dispatch, what it would cost for the county to do that. We have been working on that. We have those figures together. What we have found is most of the cost is in dispatch personnel. We tried to compare salaries whenever we put these figures together so that if the county retains dispatch, we would be able to be competitive with the existing salaries. We felt like that was the only fair way. It would not be fair to the current dispatchers to look at a large reduction in their salaries. In doing that, we have totaled everything up. We come up with $730,696. That is in the area of $60,000 under what Tell City was projecting. I do not think that that is a large difference. I do not think that is a large enough difference for the county to stand up and say at this point that they're going to save a lot of money. I do not feel that way. It is my recommendation as the 911 director to the county commissioners that they consider signing an agreement back with Tell City as long as their terms and their conditions are understood. I feel like at this time that would be the proper thing to do, and that would be my recommendation. Thank you.
Well, I'm going to comment, and I've had conversations with Roger and Derek and Steve and Mayor Kale, and dispatch, it's a chain. I mean, and the enhanced 911 is a chain, and dispatch is a very viable part of that. And so is all the other pieces to it that Steve will explain at a later meeting. But I'm a firm believer in don't fix it if it ain't broke. And the dispatching services that are provided by Tell City has been great. The only thing wrong with that was the funding. 5 years ago, the county and the city sat down, come with agreement for a 5-year plan to increase that. Well, that 5-year plan's over with. So now it's start to look again. Now, it is a fiscal amount. It is the money. So Luke Thomas and David Aitchen sat down with the county or city officials, and they negotiated an amount. So I believe that's taken care of, and I think that's agreeable. With just a few things in the language of the contract, and then we're ready to move forward. I mean, Roger, do you see any issue? You've been involved in this as much as anybody.
Yes, sir, Mr. Hauser, I have.
Hey, Roger, could you come up to the mic?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I've been involved in several meetings for dispatch. I've looked at some rough drafts that Commissioner Jarbo has put together as far as the wording and the interlocal agreement. There's been, 6 versions, I think?
6 versions.
We've come up with at this point. Yeah.
You were along the ride for 4, 5, and 6, I think. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I do feel like there's progress being made. I've had the chance now recently to meet with Steve, and he and I discussed the operations of the dispatch center. I think there may be some fine tuning in the wording still as far as who does what when the operations and the services provided. Some responsibility where some of that lies. I believe that's very important. Steve's very knowledgeable in what he does. He's very resourceful. Can't say enough good about him in that area. I just think that it just kind of needs to be a little bit more well-defined in the wording of whose responsibilities is what and where it falls, so we'll know the scope of each other's jobs and whose responsibility would be should we ever run into some kind of a situation.
In the previous contract, it was not spelled out well at all.
I have to agree with you, Tom. The first interlocal agreement was lacking. For lack of better terms, it was missing a lot. I feel like it covered the finances.
Kind of a handshake kind of a deal.
It was. I think it could be worded better, and I think it could be put together. I know Greg's been on top of it as far as trying to help with that. I think it could be put together with something that we could all agree on, and everybody still have a role and a responsibility, and keep it, like you said, Tom, if it's not broke, don't fix it kind of thing. And I believe that the service that we provide is second to none. Of course, I'm a little bit biased because it's my group.
But I admit, now, I've been involved with emergency for over 30 years.
Yes, sir.
And yes, it's one of the best groups that you can do. And I actually work for other counties too. And, you know, although they, you know, I don't want to dog in another county, but yeah, we're top notch. And every piece of that chain is top notch the way I feel about it. One thing that was broke, no fix things that ain't broke, one thing was broke was probably the funding.
Yes.
And I've got no disagreement. Now, and so we come up with, and Luke Tom has come up with a plan that he revealed last Thursday on how the county can come up with that. Put a lot of work into it, it makes sense, I like it. You know, I think the big hurdles we've all jumped over. We've gotten over those hurdles. So, like I said, it's a shame not to utilize a resource that's available, and one that is the dispatch services by Tell City. I mean, and it is part of the county, and we're all, but there's a lot of pieces to the chain. So
absolutely, I agree. There's many.
Ron and I have been friends and co-workers for we don't know how many years. So I mean, it's and Derek and Steve, and you know, so yes, I think that it would be a shame not to move forward with this. With that said, the funding, I asked Luke for a figure last week to put in our budget. That's the only reason why our budget has not been approved, is we didn't have the number for dispatch, and Luke has given the number to Pam to put in our budget, correct? So that is the last piece to our budget for 2022 to be submitted to the council.
Before we go on to that, though, I worked basically with Roger for, like I said, it's what, 6th or 7th revision I think it's at. But we've done this for like 2 months. And I struggled with this a lot because basically I knew I had to get certain things in the contract in order to get it signed. And so I fought for those things to be in the contract. And I'm pretty positive before last week that contract was solid. It was basically there. The contract that we finally agreed on in the annex, where Roger and Malone and Derek and Steve and I and Mayor Carroll were there, we basically all kind of looked at each other and shook our head, yes. We've got 2 or 3 things we need to fix in here. We can't fix them at this table. We got to fix them somewhere else, basically probably in a setting like this. But it was solid. But I saw the demands basically that came out to be added to the contract, and that's, you might as well have thrown gasoline on that work that we did. You might put a fire to it, because, and I'm not going to sit here and argue about it because I'm not, but I am not your negotiator anymore, I can tell you that right now, because we tried to make it to where it would work. But if you try to do those other things that you've got in there, I don't think it's going to. I don't think it is.
Well, the demands came from myself. I wanted in this contract, just kind of like Roger said, not for us, but for the future commissioners to know exactly where we stand, no matter if it's the county or the city on dispatch. And that's some of the items I put in there. Who does what when they need to do it. And that's really all I was looking at is, once we're gone, Greg, we need to have a contract, if it's a 5-year contract, if it's a 30-year contract, exactly the next generation of commissioners and city leaders knows exactly what we meant at that time when we signed that contract. And everything that was put in, what I requested, is not any different than what we've been doing, but it's on the contract.
Can we hear what your demands are? Can we hear what your demands are? Can we hear what they are?
Well, when we bring it to the commissioners meeting, the contract, which it's not here now, you guys can see it. But we're not ready to pass it yet, I'm not. I want to work with the mayor a little bit more on this contract. I know, Greg, last meeting, you said the commissioners, and I don't want to get in an arguing match, but request that you take care of the contract. I did not do that.
Okay.
That was a false statement in my part. I thought if I said that in the meeting, I don't remember it. I'm not saying I didn't, but I don't remember recalling letting you, and I'm glad you
You
did.
didn't
You did a lot of work.
you didn't
with it.
say it in the meeting, but I had from a reliable source that when they talked to you, that I was assigned to it. So that's what I was going off of, so.
Well, I don't want to get into that.
Yeah, I'm not either, I'm not either.
And I'm glad you did the contract, because there's a lot of things in there that's good, but I just thought I wanted clarification on some things. And the things I put in was that.
But I think one of them is going to be the word PSAP. I think that word is going to go through the roof, is what I'm just.
Why would that be?
I just know that talking between our two groups, that PSAP is not going to be one of those things that's going to fly in that contract, the way you've got it written. It's just not. It won't go that way.
Can you explain what PSAP really means?
You're Roger one.
You're Roger. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. So I think the term is very important. If it wasn't important, it wouldn't be defined by state statute. And law enforcement officers, Sheriff Malone can vouch that that's how we, that's the way we determine, decipher, and read the law. And most statutes are very lengthy. Any statute that you deal with in the Indiana Code also contains subsections, and I'm sure Mr. Goffman can vouch for this. They're very lengthy. This is one of the very short, direct, to-the-point statutes defining PSAP. PSAP is a public safety answering point. 36-8-16.7-20. The term PSAP, as used in this chapter, PSAP refers to a public safety answering point that operates on a 24-hour basis, and two, whose primary function is to receive incoming requests for emergency assistance and relay those requests to an appropriate responding public safety agency. One of the very shortest state statutes, most clearly defined statute that I've seen. I'm sure there's others just as clear, but I thought it was very important that PSAP would be determined. We would be determined as the PSAP because we meet every element of the statute at the Tell City Police Department. We are staffed 24/7. 911 is answered and picked up there. Dispatch is relayed to the appropriate agency by certified operators. We meet all this to be considered the public safety answering point.
Okay.
And I think it's just
But,
language.
okay, there are other aspects to it.
Sure, I agree with you,
Right,
Tom.
the county provides a lot of the stuff needed to be able to do your job.
Absolutely.
Right. So, and the city is in the county.
Yes.
So the county providing the, and I don't have a full list of it, but of the 911 equipment, the radio equipment, the GIS mapping,
Sure.
and all of that is provided, and the county, and not to undermine any importance of any job at all, then contracts the dispatching services with Tell City Police Department.
Sure.
And so, in a sense, the county does provide that by contracting it. That's a point.
Yes.
I'm not saying anybody is wrong here, I'm just saying that there is more to dispatch than more to the PSAP. And if you look at the county providing the resources to be able to get, that job done. Now, Steve has offered to do a presentation at a future meeting, and I think that the county is going to win altogether, are going to win if the county and Tell City work together on this. And so I personally would like to see that before we go any further. Is that fair enough?
I was just asked
All
to,
respect in the world to everybody involved.
I was just asked to define PSAP, and I think it's pretty clear once I've read it. Thanks, Kelly, for providing this for me. I knew basically what it was and what it stood for. I think it's a pretty important term. For years, we have been Tell City's central dispatch. You know, and I think that we should retain that title as a public safety answering point for meeting that criteria.
Right.
And I don't think the title and the language therein should stop any kind of working together or a deal or anything. But I think with us holding this position for the last couple of decades, 20, 30 years or so, I think it's important that we retain the title of central dispatch, and we know, and the citizens know that when they dial 911, where's that phone being answered at? That's Tell City Police Department.
And that's a very good point. But I guess added to that, and part of the chain we talked about, is all the stuff that has to be there behind the scenes to be able to perform that task.
Sure.
And that's part of being the PSAP.
All those things that you're talking about, all those components have to come into play, and that's what makes the phones ring at the PSAP, and that's what makes our operators pick them up and dispatch the appropriate services. And that's that's just kind of where we're at on I didn't think we would hang up on such a small, what's considered a minor, a detail, but it is what it is. I can't change state statute, and as it's defined, it is what it is. And I think if we took a vote in the room right now, that we would say that Tell City Central Dispatch is the PSAP.
Right, but
Why is it so important?
As far as being the PSAP, I think it's just the PSAP is defined by state statute and the public safety answering point. I think it goes back to the statewide 911 funds and what they're designed to do. If you really want to know my honest opinion, I really want to be transparent with you. You ask, I think that when you talk about statewide 911 funds, whether it's the hold harmless or the 90-10 split, it talks about that funding, and it surrounds the term PSAP. That is what it's for. It surrounds the term PSAP. Not some of the components that Steve knows is eligible. Absolutely, they're eligible for some of that. No argument against that. But it's all about the funding of the statewide 911 funds, which is a substantial amount of money. And I think that it's worded all around the term PSAP. And I think it's all about the funding, whether it be the hold harmless or the 90-10 split. I think that's why this term was put together, and I think that's what statewide 911 funds were for, was to fund this. And I've told them before in other meetings, when speaking with the director, a statewide poll shows that if we receive 100% of statewide 911 funds, that's any PSAP, it doesn't cover 40% of the operating costs.
that's exact. So the money's got to come from someplace
Absolutely.
else.
It does. It's all about funding.
The key here, the 911, I don't think will cover what you projected for 911 services, right? So we're going to come up with money, and I guess my point is, I don't want to tie our council's hands on where they get the funding, because their budget book, is that thick, and they have to do that. They have to go through that whole budget and decide how they can pay not only dispatch services, but everything to do with the county, $3.7 million.
That's way above my pay grade.
Right. But what I'm saying is, number one, Tell City needs to be paid for the services that they provide.
Yes, sir.
That's the most important thing.
Yes, sir.
That's the most important thing.
Yes,
And to
sir.
retain the service that we are getting.
Yes, sir.
I mean, the quality of the service. And to interrupt that by interrupting the employees or the staff interrupting that and becoming is not necessary. I don't see it necessary.
I didn't want, as time grew and technology grows, we knew that however it started out lopsided years ago, I don't know what the situation was, but as time and technology grew, it just became more and more lopsided, and we all knew that it was going to reach this point at some time, and it was going to be a bigger number than what we wanted to see. And, we're here now. We kicked the can down the road 5 more years, we're going to be off hundreds of thousands more of dollars. What the last thing I wanted to see throughout all this is funding come between the working relationship of the Perry County responding agencies, from the Sheriff's Department to EMA to anything else. I'm afraid it leaned that direction for a little bit. Steve and I have talked. I know it's a public meeting, but I'm just going to be honest with you. It's took its toll on us.
Right. But it's important.
It's very important we get it resolved. We continue to work together, but I don't want that wall built. I don't want that divide. I want to keep on with that working relationship. You can call him any time of the night. Steve's going to pick up that phone. I promise you. And I don't want that to stop. I don't want that wall to be put between any agency in Perry County. We look at other counties and I think, man, what a terrible thing they go through. We never faced that here. And I hope this doesn't cause that.
Yep.
Well, and I think it's time to digest that portion of it, but to go forward on the budget part of it, that's why we've inserted that amount into our budget that the three commissioners have been given. And we tabled our budget because we didn't have that last meeting, and Luke was able to get to us. And like I said, it's a more than one step process as far as the budget. I mean, the hard part's over, coming up with what's agreeable now, and then how to come up with it. I mean, David and Luke will both tell you that finding money, and Earl's here too, that just doesn't exist.
Right.
But that's the plan.
Thank you all for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
And the key that I had when I was talking through the contract with people was, one, that we had certain equipment that's owned by the county, it's got to remain owned by the county. That was a key piece. The second piece of it was basically, that's got to be maintained somehow or another. We've got to pay that money. That's when we were in the council meeting, we were about ready to do your budget stuff. So I stood up, there's one thing that I need from you, and you said, yeah, I know what it is. And it's that we could maintain that equipment, that we had the money to maintain it. And the other one is just make sure it stays serviceable, which you can do via servicing it, auditing it, whatever you need to do. I mean, there's nothing that restricts you from that. The word PSAP doesn't change any one of those three factors to me. It just doesn't. Because if you look at the way they did the budget, it's $1.1 million, okay? And that $150,000 roughly that is there to maintain that equipment is in that budget. So if the county pays that $150,000 or if the city pays that $150,000, it's in the budget. The money's there. It's just got to be, you've got to have a contract to get this done. And so if one word is a separation point from us signing the document, I can't do that. I can't do it. It's ridiculous. So, and I think I'll leave it at that. I'll just be quiet. So.
Hey, I want to make a couple comments. I want to thank Steve, Alan, Eric, worked on these numbers. I was the one that requested these numbers, and the main reason was to do my job.
Yes.
When I seen 150% increase, we had to look, what does it cost? And this is going to benefit us as commissioners. It'll benefit the council when they go to public hearing. It's going to benefit Tell City. Everybody's going to win from getting these numbers. And they spend a lot of time on these numbers, and I want everybody to appreciate that. So I wanted to make sure Tell City was honest with us. They are. When it comes in within about 60,000,
Just right there.
and we didn't know that. We did not know that going into this. And that's why I requested, and I think.
And I did too.
You did too.
I
think
requested
Tom
as
did.
well.
I think a couple council members did.
Absolutely.
So it's a good thing going forward, what we can use these numbers with. Because I know the council will need those numbers when they go into a public hearing. Because anytime you raise taxes, even though there's going to be some tax cuts, it's going to be ugly. Public hearings. I've seen them before, over and over. So they got something to go by. It's going to cost no matter who runs it.
And we didn't do a capital budget either. If you look at a capital budget, it's going to be a million plus to start something up probably, or close to it.
So, but, you know, it's in our back pocket now. If we ever do need something like it, we got some information. You never can have enough information. I think you just got to do our job. That's what we're elected for the people of Perry County, no matter where they're from. And thank you guys for doing that. And there again, I stand strong when I want in the contract, because you made a comment, we're doing it for everybody for the future. And that's what it's for. I want everybody to know down the road that what we was really doing here. So we didn't have these hidden things. I don't quite know who's responsible for that throughout the life of this contract, so.
But
That's,
putting it in our budget, you know, the amount that's agreed upon, I think we can move forward on that, and the city can do their budget, and the county council can get their budget done, and we get the most important thing, we continue to dispatch, and the city gets compensated properly. That's the biggie.
and, you know, as a county, you know, over the years, we worked with Tell City on this funding, and we didn't know it was lopsided like this. So I'm glad, you know, at least we know now that it was lopsided, so.
How lopsided is it that there's a TIF district here in Tell City that pays for the county courthouse. I mean, isn't this whole conversation I'm listening to about the county needs to pay their fair share of a county service? Well, we have a county building here that the TIF district across the creek gets to pay for it, but no one else does. When does that TIF district get, when do I live in that TIF district, and I know none of you guys do. And I know when Steve Goodson set his ass up there, he lives across the street from me, and it stopped in the middle of the street. When does that TIF district, when does it end?
It will
the
end.
The TIF district and Tell City, because Tell City's paying, part of us in Tell City are paying for this courthouse, not the county. The county's not paying for this building. We are. When does it end? Y'all want to be transparent and you want to fix things.
Chris, we've announced that several times. It ends in like 23 or 24.
24, I think.
24.
Dave,
It's not a secret.
Hasn't the RDC also, I mean, recently, you're right, this was built on a TIF, I'm not arguing with you one bit, whatever. But I think David and the RDC that's there now did do a good thing, and they're doing pass-through route now, right?
Yeah.
So
I just think the county rides the back of Tell City, and it has to stop.
Yeah.
It has to stop.
Yeah, no, I wasn't disagreeing with you on the
I'm moving to the
courthouse.
county. Hell with you all.
You know when I wasn't
That's
here, I
what
was on the
it
school
would be.
district. You know when I wasn't up here and I was on the school district, and I still have same feelings that it boggled my mind that we built this with the TIF district, to tell you the truth. It really did, because it killed the school systems for a while. And now I'm glad that the RDC's passing that through now. That is what you're doing now, right? You have actually done that, yes. Yeah, so I'm appreciative they do that. But you're absolutely right. The whole thing was built on TIF district, absolutely, positively.
And we're still paying for it.
Yeah.
And we're gonna pay for it until when, Chris? 23, 24?
23 or 4.
2 or 3 more years to pay for it.
Yeah.
But
And in the
85%
pockets,
is being passed through.
2040? 2027, I'm sorry, 2027, sorry.
Yes. Is it that long? Oh,
I'd like to, people, please come up to the mic,
Yeah.
because I get a lot of complaints on live streaming, they can't hear what you're saying.
I have a question about the funding. You were talking about it doesn't really matter where the money comes from or whatever. I think it's really important to understand what a PSAP is and who is the PSAP, because those statewide 911 funds have to go to the PSAP. So if Tell City is indeed the PSAP, those statewide 911 funds in the amount of around $350,000, something like that,
283.
plus the additional, yes, should be going to the PSAP right off the top, so that our taxes don't have to be raised any more than they have to be if those funds are not used appropriately. So has there ever been an audit on these funds
Yes, these funds are
Okay.
audited every year
by the state?
by the state.
Okay, so I can call and request that from,
You can look it up.
State Board of
I got two
Accounts
on-
or-
I got the last 2 on.
okay, so I can call them tomorrow and get those, I
Yeah, or
guess.
you can go on the website tonight with
Okay.
DLG.
No, not that, I mean a true audit, like a,
Yes, they
Okay.
truly audited every year.
okay, okay.
Every year. I mean, it's
But
audited by the state.
I understand that you say
And
that
last
it's,
year, just example,
Mhm.
2019, there was $40,000 of inappropriate and statewide, and all of those have to pay it back.
Mhm.
And-
That's very
and-
important, that we don't do something, spend it on anything that might cause us
Last
to
year
have to
was-
pay it back.
Last year was $94,000 statewide.
Mhm.
And it's listed county by county
Mhm.
and expenditure by expenditures. And
Mhm.
what I thought was interesting, it got down to one county has to pay back $5.49 for salt and pepper
Mhm.
because it's not an eligible expense. So with that said, the point is, it's a very thorough audit. There's one for $11.99 for candy.
Okay, so
And it's
the
very-
Tell City PSAT, or the, whoever
911
handles,
funds are audited every year by the state 911.
oh, by State 911, okay.
Yes.
So that's who I'll call to get that, not State Board Accounts?
State Board of Accounts.
Statewide 911 is different than State Board of Accounts, though, so
But the
who,
State Board of Accounts audits it.
okay. I'll request those.
911.
So I should contact statewide 911, is that what you're saying?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm asking.
I think I may have it in an email.
It's okay, I can call them now.
2020 the other night. I know, see if I can come up to the website.
It's just, because
Okay.
it counts.
Yeah, I have their emails.
You can call her,
Yeah.
and it was very easy to find online
Okay.
if you don't want to
Okay.
call.
I've been all over the website and I don't see any audits anywhere, so I just don't know.
Okay, well,
I seen a general run-through of one, but,
I have copies of the last audits, like the
Okay.
last that's been done for the county overall.
okay.
Is 17.
But not specifically for those funds?
Right.
All the funds are
911.
included in
Okay.
State Board of Accounts audits.
Okay.
Yeah.
But no specific statewide 911 audits from
No,
the board?
I don't have those.
Okay,
No, I don't
okay.
have those. That's all included.
It's downloading.
It's okay, no, it's okay, you can send it to me, you have my email, but I just think that's why it's really important, it all comes back to this PSAP and where that money's supposed to go, so, yeah.
It-
That's fine, you can email it to me if you want.
But
But I think that's, again, I mean, am I,
No, you're right.
Okay.
And there's very easy ones to do, like, I know the router's like 90 grand or whatever every year
Right.
because of the lease. That's an easy one that, you know, it's
Right.
obviously there.
Sure.
If you look at salaries, you know, the dispatch salaries, that's another one that's obvious. It's all doable there. So there are things that I think if we looked at it, it would be easy to actually apply those to those and actually make it to where it's a pretty easy.
and that's part of that 150,000 you were talking about, the half-twos from the county, or whatever?
$90,000 for the router.
Yeah.
And I call it a router, I'm probably misstating it, but in my world, it's a router. But basically, the thing that gets the 911 call and directs it to the consoles, that is, it's $1 million, close to $1 million piece of equipment, I think, 871,000 or whatever. And we do a lease on that, and we have to pay it every year.
I saw it on the
With all
gateway,
that
it's
said-
up in
But
2023.
that's, you know, things like that are easy, right? Because you
Right.
know you have to have
Yeah.
those.
Right, but what I want to see what Steve has offered to put together, you know. PSAP, in one opinion of Rogers, is strictly where they pick up the phone and answer it and they radio out.
Well, I think it was a state statute. Chris, can you clarify the state statute?
We're interpreting the statute differently.
Okay.
The interpretation of that state statute.
Okay.
I'm not arguing that state statute.
Statute is what it is.
Yeah. It's plain.
But the point
How you
that
apply
I'm
it may not
making
be
is,
clear.
huh?
How you apply it may not be clear.
May not be clear, that it is, the county is the PSAP because they're responsible for, of doing all of those things. And including contracting Tell City to do dispatch services. The county is checking that off the list by contracting.
And you're sure of that, you've checked? I mean, I guess if you don't know the interpretation, where does that come from, Chris? If you're saying we're interpreting it different, where do you get that at?
Because we're interpreting it the way the statute's read, who's doing all the work, and all the work is being done by the county and the city together, but the county's got a role.
The bottom line is the county's responsible.
That's,
Yeah.
bottom line, it's their job.
If there's a lawsuit because of
Okay.
dispatch, who gets sued?
County.
County.
It's county's responsibility.
See, it all comes down to
Okay.
who's really, the state says responsible for 911 in each county in the state.
But you're not trying to say the county is the PSAP as far as they have the 24-hour answering service? You don't have one of those, you don't have a staff?
By contracting it to Tell City.
Okay.
It's a contract service. It's no different than what we're doing with the ambulance with Perry County Memorial Hospital.
Correct.
It's almost identical.
Correct.
We're responsible for EMS, but what we do, we let the hospital manage it for us with a contract.
We own some of the equipment, they own the employees.
Yes.
Own is not the right word. They hire the employees.
They are their employees. And just
Yeah.
like what we're talking about here with Tell City, I think it's important that we retain that relationship between the Tell City Police Department and the employees that dispatch. Because that's established in all of the little daily stuff. They know when they come into work, it's going to be consistent, that they're going to answer to this person, and I'm not going to pretend to know how you do that, Roger. I mean, I know they don't answer to you personally every day. You know, if they got a problem, there's a chain of command. So, right?
I think it's equally important that we get clarification on the interpretations, because obviously people think that the interpretation's different, and if we don't have clarification, I think it's reckless to go forward and just say this is what we think it is, and then sometime down the road, we may have to pay it back. So I think that needs to happen.
And hopefully we can do that in the near future, but to
Yeah.
move forward,
Well, before the contract, I mean, absolutely.
the funding is what we need to do first. So I think that's probably the most important action we can take tonight, is to pass our budget, which passes it on to the council, so they can get that part behind us. And that's what started this whole.
Is the council responsible for appropriating the 911 funds and all the money that would be going as far as the taxes and?
Basically, every single dime that's spent in
Okay.
this county has to be approved by the council.
We
Okay.
approve line item budgets, but we don't approve the claims, so.
Oh, so you guys approve the actual receipts?
After they approved,
The line item.
right, and that's the check and balance.
So you don't actually see what's being purchased or whatever, it's just,
We look at the claims,
if you
yeah.
look at them, okay. But you guys approve the claims?
Correct.
Right, that's the check and balance.
Correct.
Okay.
We can't approve a single claim unless the council approves.
But you could also not approve a claim if they did and you didn't want to because you didn't think it was correct, right?
Yeah, and just like our
Okay.
budget,
Absolutely.
That's
in
what I'll
our
make sure.
budget, we'll turn in our budget to the council.
Mhm.
They can take every single line and change it. I mean,
Correct.
that is
That's
up to
their
them.
right, yeah.
That is their right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean,
So the money language in the contract, if there's going to be money language, shouldn't that be from the council instead
In the
of?
contract, there is no money language.
Okay.
It literally is written so that the council takes care of it.
That's right.
Okay.
it's written that the two
So there can't be,
councils-
this has to be here, or this has to be there?
There is no money.
Right,
in
correct.
there, And there's
Yes,
no
I agree
funds in
with
there.
Right, the two councils will meet and agree upon a yearly
Okay,
amount.
The council takes care of the funding, we take care of policy as
Right.
commissioners.
Yeah.
okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the previous contract did have a dollar amount in it,
I
and
saw
and I
that.
questioned whether that was correct. So we don't think we're gonna put that in our next one.
No, I don't think you need it.
No, not the way it's written.
No, the
I'd like
council's
that
approved.
clarification on interpretation before.
No, that's fine.
Okay, well, we can do that, and like Steve said, we can do that in a future meeting and gather some information and have that discussion. And Roger, I hope you were here and put, I'm sure you will. So, okay, so next thing on the agenda is our budget, and we reviewed it, and last meeting, we voted to table it until we had the figures in for the dispatch. And now they've been put in there.
And that's the only thing that's changed, right?
Yes.
Yes, that's what I would, so.
No, there was a few things that we had to clarify on a few line items. It's not exactly the same. I
Which was
guess.
spelled out
Yeah,
in the handout.
but I have given you the notes of what has been changed.
Yeah, there's only one change that I'd like to make, and that's to remove the 4% from our pay. I mean, the council did it, and I think that when Charlie did it, I went, oh, I didn't even think about that. We should do that too, so.
I think we usually do that.
Yeah, we should do that.
Yeah, that's fine. Is that-
It didn't even occur to me until Charlie mentioned it, and I thought, well, we need to do that.
Greg's gonna call you a liar word, but, okay. That's fine. So with that, is there any other discussion on any other items on the commissioner's budget?
What was the
Oh, yeah, we
amount
got
that
it.
was put on the dispatch?
You're right. We probably should we motion that 4% change, or should we motion approve the budget with that?
If 4% we don't, we should.
Is that all right? Yeah.
Yes, if that's the motion you want, then that would be a
That's
correct
the way I
motion.
should, okay, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I motion that we approve the budget as is with the 4% being taken out of our salary.
Okay?
For commissioner's salary,
Commissioner's salary.
Mhm.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve the 4% raise taken out. And vote by roll call. Greg?
Aye.
Randy?
Aye.
Motion made, second carried, 3-0. To approve our budget, pass it on to the council. So,
real quick, Commissioner.
yes,
On what Luke showed last week, that we got to see as the public,
Mhm.
is that exactly the numbers that was just passed through
Yes,
for PSAP?
yes.
That's
Right.
exactly what he showed.
right, for the dispatch service, yes, and to get it, to make sure it was clear, I contacted Luke to make sure that
Okay,
he passed it on.
nothing changed.
And the good thing about the way the budget was written is the word PSAP doesn't affect it, the total number, because it's 1.1 million regardless of how that all works out, it's 1.1 million, so.
Yeah.
So that's what number went through, is that number.
things.
Well, I mean, the email that I got from Luke, is it the 201,000, Luke? Because when we had, okay, when we had the discussion,
Okay.
your meeting was the 80,
Yeah, I'll just go here.
and then.
So we're talking about-
I said $19 million, that's the total.
We're talking about
He's gonna fix it.
two different amounts.
Because I ended up left on
Right.
Friday, and you were gonna get with Tom to see
Yeah.
what amount to actually.
So in the Public Safety Commissioners Lit Fund, there should be a line item for about $201,000.
Yes.
Okay?
And then there's the additional $80,000. That was 49,000 of that was already budgeted out of Public Safety Lit,
Uh-huh.
and we increased that to 80,000.
Total.
From 49 to 80,000, and then we had that other $201,000 line item.
Okay.
Okay.
Because we were going to create a separate department for,
Right, which we can do that, so really, then we need to put in the whole 281 right here, then you guys can move the 200.
move it around as we need
You
to.
can move it around at budget time, but we've got to make sure we put in a total here for what we want, and then the council, because what we were discussing, since they're looking to change the income tax and stuff, and bring more money in for strictly dispatch, that we would make that as a separate department, so we kept that money, or kept that line item, so we knew what that was. So, but until we get that money, because that money's coming into public safety, which is gonna be budgeted for dispatch, but you have to appropriate it. It's coming in, but you've got to appropriate it,
Right.
okay?
Right.
So that's why we
need
have to
be
do
part of
that.
our budget.
Right, so that's where, besides the amount that you know that you still need, you have to budget the amount that's gonna come in from the income tax also.
Right, that's why I contacted Luke.
Yeah.
Yeah,
To
So I guess
clarify.
we're looking at the 281 is what we
right, total.
plug in.
Yeah, total.
As long as it's in there.
Right, then we can,
Move it around.
right.
And it's where you.
But you're gonna put that, you're gonna put that all under the lit, right, is where you're gonna
Yes,
put that?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, that's what I
Yeah.
was assuming that we were doing.
In two separate departments.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Just wanna make sure we were all on the same page here.
But it's all under lit to begin with.
Right,
Okay, all right.
yeah.
But if during budget balance and everything, you can move it.
We'll move it around.
Yeah, because Luke and I have been talking about setting up a separate department and doing it that way. Here are your
Okay.
budgets.
You got that number in?
Yes, I do.
All right.
All right. So we have passed it.
Yes.
All right.
You ready to move on?
We'll move on. Next thing on the agenda is upcoming board appointments. Teresa?
Okay, did they get these all done, Pam? All these?
Yeah, I guess when they made the motion, that was for all budgets in,
Yes.
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
as amended.
With the,
with the 4% taken out on
with the
salaries.
4% taken out on salary.
Okay. There is an upcoming board appointment on the Hospital Board of Trustees. It's for Grant Taylor. It's a Republican position. It's a 4-year term that expires September 30th, 2021. As the Indiana Code 1622-2 states, the existing board shall submit a list of at least one, but not more than 3 candidates to fill that, and then you have that option to appoint from that list, request another list, or appoint one of your choosing. The appointment date would be September 21st meeting,
Okay.
okay? The other thing I have is just preventative maintenance contracts or agreements with Everpar. This is for our generator here at the courthouse and for the generator at the Armory Annex. This is something that we have been doing the last few years. And the one here at the courthouse gets a major PM and a minor PM, so they come twice a year. The one out the Armory Annex, because it's still relatively new, it gets PM once a year. And the amount for the courthouse is $647 annually, and for the Armory, it is $637 annually. That's in the budget for mechanical maintenance agreements. So if you're fine with that, we just need to get your approval on that, and then place for Tom to sign.
So motioned.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion made and second, vote by roll call. Greg?
Aye.
Randy?
Aye.
Vote made, secretary 3-0. Is that the power? Okay, is that it, Teresa?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, one thing I want to bring up in miscellaneous, we are, in COVID-19, we are in the orange right now, and there's strong indications that we will end up in the red in the very near future. So with that said, I would like to propose that we, and I met with the department head today to get their input on, that we go back to face coverings required in the courthouse and common areas, whether it be public or employees, and that we close the courthouse from noon to 1, as we did previously, for extra cleaning. Is there any other points we talked about today, Teresa?
That's pretty much it.
Pretty much it. And hopefully this, all of the barriers in the different offices will be, remain up. Fact of the matter, I hope they remain up from now on. I mean, I don't know reason why we take them down. So that's what I'm proposing to the other two commissioners.
I'm all right with it.
Mhm.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. Are you going to wait until we go into red, or are you going to do it now?
I want it to start tomorrow.
And we're still in orange,
We're still in orange.
and it's just for the courthouse.
Correct.
Correct.
What is
Correct.
the courthouse?
Annex. Oh,
The annex will be under control of the health department.
Okay.
That's all right.
And the Purdue Extension Office will be under control of Purdue Extension. I mean, they've got their strict,
They're more strict than us to begin with, right?
they are, and they have to follow those guidelines. The Highway Department is shut down with the personnel being, I mean, it's shut to the public because of all the positive cases out there. But what I'm asking is that we start this tomorrow so we can, get ahead of it a little bit.
Can we make the motion if we go into red? I mean, is that, because we were gonna go into red probably in the next couple of days anyway, right? So, most likely, yeah, I know you can't say that for definitely, but.
Right. The caller will be released on, I'll probably get an email tonight or in the morning, but then it's released to public on Wednesday mornings,
Okay.
our caller for the week.
But if we wait till then we're behind the 8 ball. And that's just my point, the discussion.
In my opinion, we probably need to do it in the
We're
morning.
already in red. Already red now.
Already in, okay.
81 of Indiana's 92 counties.
There you go. Okay. That's a dumb point,
What
then,
is it?
sorry for even asking.
Where's the
You're
red?
fine, you're fine. So,
Oh, CDC
That's the
has us in
CDC.
red.
and
Yes,
hopefully we
CDC
can-
already has us in red. But the Indiana caller metric that we have followed for the last year and a half, we are orange, and I will get an email about it tonight or in the morning.
okay, see, that adds confusion. So that's why I would rather
Yeah.
clear.
CDC does have us
I've
in
got
red.
a question for Chris. Are we still under the governor's orders that in case something happens, the president of the commissioners got the rights to make a decision?
Yeah.
Within 7 days, we have a meeting?
We can still do that. I don't believe the emergency has expired yet.
It has not.
It has not, yeah, so
Okay.
yeah, he can do that.
So if something gets worse, Tom will...
He can make the order, and then you have to meet
Yes.
within 7 days to
So-
either approve it or not.
So if you see something, Sarah, Steve, get with Tom, then let him take care of it, and then we'll take care of it at the next meeting.
For a special
So,
meeting.
Yeah.
motion?
Yeah, I'll motion to, it's basically face coverings at an hour, noon to 12 for deep cleaning. That's what we're basically,
Mhm.
okay, that's what we're motioning.
Okay, I'll second that.
Okay, and then encourage,
Greg, is that starting tomorrow?
Starting tomorrow
tomorrow.
for the courthouse.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Greg?
Aye.
Randy?
Aye.
Also vote aye. Also, I wanted to mention, and talking to Will Markham today, he wanted me to make sure that, to encourage everyone to get vaccinated, number one, and number two, is the social distancing. And our health officer, he cannot push the issue of the vaccination any harder. So he wanted me, and I told him that I would put a plug in
Is
for
that
that.
for children also? Or does he believe that children should be vaccinated?
he believes is following CDC guidelines, which is 12 and above, correct, Sarah? At this point?
I don't know if that was his recommendation or not.
What's that?
I don't know if that was his recommendation or
What,
not.
12 and above?
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, that's what he told me today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't record the conversation.
No, I just got told a different age, that's all. So, but if he told you today, then I trust you. I mean, that's,
Yeah, what
I heard from him was probably a week old, so.
oh, okay. All right.
So you guys are not planning on shutting this county down again, are you?
No, we're trying to avoid that.
No, there was a specific, you are not
Or
shutting
not.
this county down again.
We are not. We're trying to avoid that, but we have no plans, not even the courthouse.
Yeah.
I mean, now shutting the county down, that come from the state.
Well,
Shutting-
you just said the governor gave you the authority.
On certain things, but not that.
Okay, so it would come from him.
Yeah, that's what it did last time. It came from state down.
Right.
No, I don't think it was the county that shut their own county down. It was state mandated.
It was state.
I think
Is that true, Chris? I mean, Marion County might have, I don't know. Every county's a little
Well,
different.
the health department can,
Yeah.
or at least could. Now, there has been a state law passed which limits that somewhat,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. mhm. Yeah,
Some of the orders of the State Department now have to be approved by the commissioners, I believe.
Senate,
Of the-
I know you're a good reader and you
Health
like to
Department.
research. Senate Bill 5 that just passed is the one that I
That
would
is the one.
recommend that you go look at.
Which I read it like 5 times today, and
It's very legalese, I will warn you.
Yes, it is.
Do not be sleepy when you start reading it, I will just say.
but part of it, and I was asked today about applying that towards basically overruling what the schools have, and I personally believe that the decision what the schools make belong to the schools. I mean, and not to pass it off, but I believe that the superintendents have met with the health department, and including Dr. Markham, and they've come up with their guidelines. Now, they're closest to it, and they're the ones most likely. I truly don't, personally don't believe it is in the best interest for any of those policies to be decided at this Board of Commissioners. That's my opinion.
I will say, being on the school board when we had the pandemic, those decisions are made so rapidly and so fast, there's no way that this board can even keep up with it, to tell you the truth. And they're very intricate too, the amount of, this building has this risk because of this situation, and this building has this. For us to get involved and break what they did so well, that would be ludicrous. It would be ludicrous in my opinion.
They got their finger on the pulse.
They got their finger on the pulse.
Right, so we have to, I feel like I'm supporting, but I just want to say that I know that we can overrule as commissioners, but I don't think we need to go there. My opinion. So, anything else? Yes, Kurt?
Might be another waste of time, but we've contacted a David Boyer, which is a representative for Senator Aaron Hoskins, District 47. Had 2 conversations with him on the 26th and 27th of July, and he has put it on the agenda and took it back to the senator to try to come up with a couple things to help us get more veterinary support, not only in our county, but surrounding counties. And I don't know anything about it, but he seemed to think it might be pretty simple to change some rules, regulations, or even state laws where the state of Indiana and 2 other states are the only ones that have certain restrictions on a veterinary technician. And one of the things that they're looking into, which I'll send this to Teresa to give you all the letter, is a lady in the northern part of the county researched all this, got the senator involved in it, and turned it back over to me. Then there's another lady here in Tell City, researched this part, has been going through the rules and laws. Then we proposed IC 25-38.1-4-1, and I've got it all highlighted, part of what we discussed. It goes through what a veterinary technician can do and has to be under the supervision, directly or indirectly, of a veterinarian. So right now, the gray area, by indirectly, if a veterinarian in either Evansville, Owensboro, Dale, wherever, would be overseeing the veterinary technician that would open Decker's building back up, and as long as they communicate by Zoom, phone calls, writing, in person, whatever, we might be able to get somebody in that building.
That sounds good. Tell me,
So-
it's much like a nurse practitioner and a...
It's the same thing, pretty well as a nurse practitioner, but when I send you this, veterinary technician cannot prescribe, cannot issue medicine, cannot diagnose, and cannot do surgery. But David seemed to think it wouldn't be that hard if the vet somewhere else was looking through Zoom on a table. He could actually diagnose and prescribe, and then the technician could finish. I'm not saying it's going to apply or not, but it might give us the possibility of getting somebody in here. And besides that, they're going to try to see what it would take to get some more of the, I had a list of all the, I think 12 or how many schools that actually do veterinarian and veterinary technician and veterinary assistants. And they're going to try to, through the senator's office, reward or get some interest in people coming to Perry County, Crawford County, Spencer County, and some of these rural areas. Because New York City, Chicago, Atlanta, places like that, a veterinarian can get out of school and go there, pick up a salary of $210,000 to $280,000. At 5 o'clock, they walk out and go home. All the vets we have in our rural areas have emergency nighttime calls. They're paying people salary, they're renting buildings, they're buying medication, they're buying, maintaining, and updating equipment, x-ray machines. So a couple of the young veterinarians I talked to said, you know, they'd like to be down here, but why would I want to burden myself with that on top of my college loan already? They're going to go where the best deal is.
And I talked to Dr. Marshall, who's the state veterinarian, and this fall he's going to make sure that we are on the application list for what it's called an area of need. And what that does is then the USDA will actually pay a vet that still has student loans anywhere from $10,000 to $25,000 a year just to be here. They'll repay those student loans at that rate. So if we can get that done, that'll be a blessing as well to try to pull somebody.
No, see, and that might be some of the stuff that David was talking about. Like I said, I don't know what all he's talking about, and I'm just emailing back and forth with him now. But the feds came out with a program that put up $8.15 billion. And that's already getting more people to sign up to take the veterinary classes. Well, they predict we're going to be in good shape by the year 2030. 2030, as far as I'm concerned, is a hell of a long ways off. So,
Good things take time, but you
Yeah.
get started.
yep. But basically, it's just to update you that there's one more possibility that we might have, and just like the rest of them, it might not work out.
Right, but you gotta keep going. Yeah.
So, just so this is public and everybody knows, we have an animal shelter. We have funding. We just don't have anybody to take it. Is that my understanding?
We have an animal building, animal shelter building, yes.
The key
Was
is a
finally,
vet. The key, Herbie, is a vet, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's the key.
That's what's holding up the operators.
Okay.
Yeah, if we had someone that would spay and neuter, because it just passed, I think, in June, that any animal shelter in Indiana, they can't allow you to adopt a dog or a cat unless it is spaded or neutered. That used to not be a rule. I mean, it was pretty common that was the case, but it wasn't a rule. So even when I looked at maybe a voucher program where we would like give them a voucher, you know, for that spade and neutering, and they'd have so many months to go get it done, we can't even do that now because they can't even let that dog leave the premises without being spayed and neutered. And so you have to have a vet to do that, and our vets are just consumed. And I don't blame them, but it's just...
Well, why can't we use those outside kennels of the shelter that if someone picks up a dog, we're able to take it over there, put a lock on it until someone claims it or we find it a new home. So it has somewhere to go.
If somebody will.
That's a
Why?
good process.
Why can we not do that?
Can we talk about that?
Who will, I mean, and that's fine.
Well, we know you guys ain't gonna do nothing, that's okay, but he could probably get enough people together that could probably go, hey, Becky, you got a dog, take it over there. I'm off work tomorrow night, I'll go walk it and feed it tomorrow night, you know? I mean, we just need a place to put them.
Right, and we can. The answer to your question is,
Unless the
yeah.
Blue Coon Club has runs that we can take them out and put them in, or some of these coon hunters. If they got empty runs, we can take them to put them in. We just need somewhere to take them. It's just sad when you stop a deputy and you say, hey, I'm getting ready to go pick up a dog, where are you going to take it? We don't have anywhere to take it. It's a damn joke.
Well, but if you.
It's a joke. So why can we not figure out how to use those? There's what, 3, 4, how many of them? 4? 4 outdoor pens there. Why can we not figure out how to use them? At least for now, to keep dogs off the street from attacking people like Shelley Morris, for one thing. You know, we got to deal with that. Wait, are we dealing with that yet? Okay, so we're dealing with that.
Are you saying that you can get people that will manage it if we allow you to use the facilities?
Yeah, like if we just had a lock that we could put a combination on outside so the dog's locked up, so nothing can get to it, no one can steal it. We can all make sure it's fed, give 10 people the combination to the lock. At least it's off the street and it's not gonna, we're not gonna have dogs taking people down like what happened to Shelley Morris.
Who's going
You see an
to,
issue there?
who's going to be the prime assessor on the lawsuit? Canton Police Department, Tell City Police, or the county? When they put it in there and somebody gets bit? If one of their 10 people gets bit,
I will never pick up another dog in this county. I will not. I will not.
Is this just a hoop we need to jump over, to get past the liability?
basically, if you're gonna do it, you need it in writing for the protection of the county.
Are those dogs in quarantine, Herbie?
Which one?
The ones that took down Shelley?
I don't know. I just knew of one. And I provided them with some information, and they're obtaining the rest of it through.
Because this county's supposed to have an agreement with a neighboring county to quarantine an animal. Have you all seen the pictures of what happened to Shelley? Riding her bicycle. Do you want to see them? They're not pretty. She's just riding her bicycle and got attacked by a dog out running around. That if we had a shelter, the sheriff's department could have went and took it to the shelter, and had been off the street. The dogs turned around and went after someone else the very next day. Then Julie Frenchville reaches out to me and says, those are the same dogs that went after me like a year ago.
Well, who picked the dogs up now?
Ask Herbie.
Harvey?
I don't know who picked it up.
They're
As
out
far
there.
as far as I know, it's
They're still
quarantined
there.
at the person's residence.
Okay.
And it's one of the pit bulls that,
I say take them out to Coon Club and turn them loose.
what's the Coon Club got to do with anything?
Nothing.
Well, why take them out there? I'll take them to Becky's house, turn them loose.
Take
Same
them to your
difference.
house and turn them loose.
I want to take him to y'all's house where I want to take him.
I've got some pictures where she's got a scar across her side, but I'll have to find it.
But like
I
I
can send
said,
it to you.
we do have facilities that's available to someone if they want to do it, and we got funding behind it. Yeah, I mean, there's $70,000 plus whatever the amount has been,
That's in the account.
that's in the account that's been collected by the rent, and that grows every month. And I'm sure-
I'd love to see Shelley sue this county because of the lack of no way to do anything with a dog. And I don't know if you know Shelley, she probably doesn't weigh 100 pounds soaking wet. And they took her down off her bicycle. And you know what? They're still out there.
Jesus Christ.
They're still out there.
And
Because
they
you
was-
guys ain't doing anything.
Okay, Chris.
We gotta
Okay.
figure out
Wait a
something.
minute.
Okay, yeah, we do.
What would you do if you were sitting in this seat? Explain it.
I'd be like everybody else. It's a liability issue. Let's not do nothing. Because that's the answer.
When
That was
animals-
your- I just sit here and gave you. Can we not use those?
When the-
Oh,
when
no,
the answer-
now it's a liability.
We have
So
to get
that's,
past the liability, or whatever we need to do to get past.
well, what's the liability if they would have killed Shelley? If those two dogs would have killed her, where's your liability? Where is this county's
That does
liability?
not fall on the county. But
There would
anyway,
be a
let's
civil
solve
suit.
it.
Woo,
It does not.
yeah,
Right, this
yeah.
doesn't.
The people own the dog are the responsible party. These people that are letting their dogs get out and run the
These
street,
dogs should be in quarantine in another county, and they do not have an agreement with another county to have these dogs quarantined away from people. So they were able to go after someone else the very next day.
that
But
dog,
isn't it the animal control board to make sure them dogs are quarantined?
whenever we're asked to.
It's not
Right
anyone's
now, we're
job.
assisting the health department with it, and the health department is the one that's interviewing it and working. But those same dogs were out there when the shelter was open. Those same dogs have been involved in numerous lawsuits. One of
So
those
why
dogs,
hasn't someone done something about them then?
I don't know, you tell me, we had a shelter, and we had an animal control officer. So why
I mean,
didn't
we
they do
don't
something about it?
have anything right now.
I
Those
know.
dogs should have been quarantined the day.
Those dogs should have
Do
been
you
dealt
know-
with
wait a
when we
minute.
had that.
Do you know that Shelley went to the hospital because she thought her ribs were broke? Right? Now, wait a minute. I'm the one that reached out to Kim Robertson to say, hey, did you know anything about this? Nope, she didn't know anything about it, and that was like 3 days later. Those dogs should have be in
The
quarantine.
very next day, she got a report from Officer Martin. When she contacted him the same afternoon, Officer Martin said, I don't have my report complete yet. I will get it to you tomorrow. So 3 days later, she had the report, and I had a text.
But you want me to tell you how long it took Kim Robertson to get a hold of Shelley?
Don't know. She had her picture the same afternoon.
Yeah, no. When Kim Robertson reached out to Shelley.
Kim Robertson sent me the pictures
Okay.
that afternoon.
I'm
I don't know
not-
when I don't know when she talked to
I'm
her.
not even gonna argue with you.
I don't know when she talked to her.
Irving, may I approach?
Yep.
May I approach?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. I don't want to get in a big.
You always have.
It just happened to be that
Mhm.
some things, and I'm speaking again as a citizen. Yes.
Mhm.
When I come here, I do not speak for the Humane Society because that has to be, the directors have to give me permission to do that. Funny that we are talking about this because actually I started doing some research on this, and I'm starting to work with Greg on this to start contacting each university individually. And as he's found out, used to be 12 years ago, there was 9 universities. Now there's almost 50. So you have to bear with me. It's gonna take me about a month and a half to contact each university's veterinarian department and discuss with them all of the graduate students and get a letter that somebody from the county to approve this, to then say, look, this is what we need a veterinarian, and this is what we can offer you from this county. Instead of going around all these circles, everybody says they do this. There's a direct approach. I've already contacted one university, and they're very interested. They've already got people interested. And yes, what he said is there's people from the big cities that make a lot of money, but they also have a lot of negative things, and they're disgusted with these cities, and a lot of them would love to come to a smaller county that has less problems, whether it be safety or whatever. So I guarantee you, and the very first university I contacted has almost 400 students. 90 should be graduating shortly. So out of those 90, I asked specifically the area, and that area is close enough for us where we could actually say, hey, come here and take a look. Instead of us saying, oh, we're going to pay your way here, I'm looking at the universities that are within our reach that have this program. Now, there's different universities that I really don't think you need to approach because they're the higher end, and they want these people that are going, like Purdue University, I hate to say that, but this is your higher end people. But there's many universities now and colleges that offer veterinarian degree, and There's also, as exactly what he said, the main problem in Indiana is Indiana law states that there has to be a veterinarian involved. And if all we have to do is change that law so the vet techs can do a lot of that, and that would save a lot of problems. The second thing, you were talking about the outside kennels. Well, I was involved with the outside kennels years ago whenever they put them in. And one of the problems with the outside kennels is they could lift them up. And people actually would, in Cannleton, when they would put a dog in there, would lift it up and the dog would be loose again. So my recommendation, and since it's about 4 kennels, I think we should double that amount of kennels to about 8. And I think we should make sure there's a cover over that out of the weather so that it's actually secure and secure to the bottom so a person can't get in there. And with an outer gate, and I'm talking about probably $15,000 to $20,000 would take care of the inner gate and the outer gate, because you got to have not just the kennel, but you got to have another, correct? You got to have another kennel outside so the person can't reach in to touch the dog. So I'm sure Herbie's got designs, other people have got a lot of designs of protection, and I did it all over the United States with other shelters to see how they do these things. But I think about $10,000, $20,000 would fix it, so there could be something done outside, so that you wouldn't have to have somebody to key the inside. And on the other, like I said, on the other part, I'm actually starting to work, but it's going to take me a while to do some research to get you information, and I'm going to work with Greg. I discussed it with him briefly. I also started working with Wendy to get the demographics of the county, so I can get that information out to each person that we're contacting, say this is what the county has, this is our population, this is approximately, you know, everything that they need to the demographics. So I'm starting to work on this, but give me a couple months to get this information, and I'm going to work through Greg as the contact, if that's okay with you.
Greg or Herbie, either one.
Well, I will also, I always contact Herbie, but I wanted to make sure that I was going to do this to the commissioners, and I wanted to make sure I had a contact with you, so.
Yeah, I mean, and we rely on our animal board to help with this, so, and there's nothing wrong with talking to Greg, I'm not discouraging you from that, but what you bring together, yeah, come straight to the meeting.
I absolutely will. But anyway, no, I already, that's the reason I'm actually here is because just a while ago, Herbie said, does anybody here, we can't come to an agreement because of the vets, does anybody here have anything that they can offer? And so I'm offering that to you. That's exactly why, because your animal control gave me that opening, and so that's why I'm doing it. Okay?
Appreciate it, Jim.
Would it help if you guys wrote like a letter of recommendation for him to give to the state legislator or whoever's making these laws, trying to get them changed? Would it help if commissioners would put forward something that, you know?
We would be glad to if you.
I mean, I've already met with them, it's already in place, I've been emailing with them, so.
Yeah, we can put a draft together and sign it, yeah.
Yes, next meeting.
Absolutely.
Like a letter of support or?
Absolutely. We do a lot of those, we can do that for this for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I got a question, and I know Alan might be able to tell you. Branchville Prison's got kennels out there, and I think they did away with their canine program.
No, they're back. We have them. They have them.
They've got them back?
Yes.
Okay.
Good thought.
The Animal Control Board actually is regulatory, and we don't get involved in stuff like that until either the health department or somebody asks us to. But the Animal Control Board has been involved with issues with the coroner's office, the health department, the sheriff department, Tell City Police. We just spent 3 weeks working with the mayor of Tell City. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on a daily basis. People out there just don't know it because we don't go out and advertise it or bring it to anybody's attention.
Well, and I know some of the stuff that you do, and that's why I'm glad that you're on the board, and the other board members. You know,
I've had them county animals in my shelter.
Okay. All right, next meeting?
Next meeting is Tuesday, August 17th at 8 a.m. here at the courthouse.
Oh, yes, Michael.
Hey, I just want to say that, you know, I'm Michael Jackson, 10 years custody dispatch, lead dispatcher.
Would you care to come up? And it's for the people listing online.
I get it.
We've gotten some issues about that. Go ahead.
Micah Jackson, Tell City Dispatch, 10 years of service, lead dispatcher, IDEX coordinator. I had this big old long thing to say tonight, but I'm not going to, but I just want to personally invite each of you to come down to Tell City Dispatch. I know, people can tell you what we do or how we do it, but to actually see it in person, meet us, talk to us, see us, working in action, that kind of, says another thing. So I just wanted to personally invite each of you to come down and, see what it looks like and kind of sit with us. So I think that's all I wanted to say.
Okay. I appreciate the times that I get to be there with you guys.
Thank you very much.
Well, I think it is a good idea. Yeah. Okay. All right. That's it. We're going. Next meeting, we already.
Sure, it's August 17th.
August
17th.
80 and